The casting call was at 7 in the morning, inside a faded stucco building just 2 blocks away from the artificial shine of Sunset Boulevard. Alex Carter stood among a line of equally sleep-deprived hopefuls, clutching a cheap paper coffee cup like it contained magic. Most of the faces were familiar. Other background actors, people he'd nodded to on sets before but never really spoken to. They were all variations of the same dream, same hunger, same hustle. His agent's message had come in at 11:42 p.m. the night before. Bar scene. Romantic drama. Feature background. Male, 25 to 35. 1-day shoot. SAG waiver. Interested? He didn't even reply. Just clicked, thumbs up. By 9, he was on set, dressed in jeans and a dark button-down. Rough day bar guy, the assistant director called it. Sit at the counter. Look tired. Don't speak. Perfect. He could do that with his eyes closed. No one paid him any attention, as lights were rigged. Boom, mics hovered into place, and cables crisscrossed the floor like jungle vines. He took his seat at the bar, a fake drink poured into a scuffed glass. The bartender was another extra, already scrolling on his phone in between takes. The walls were painted to look like weathered brick, but up close, the illusion cracked. Like everything else. Then the room changed. Selena Riley entered. Not dramatically, not with fireworks or a spotlight, but the effect was the same. A hush fell. Not because anyone told the crew to be quiet, but because she had that gravity, the kind that bends people toward her without a word. She wasn't just an actress. She was the industry now. Oscar-nominated, tabloid-dominating, meme-generating royalty. But there was something steely under the glamour. She wasn't the kind who got pushed around. She ran her own studio now. This was her movie. She exchanged a few quiet words with the director. He nodded, flustered, flipping pages on the script. Then she glanced around the set, her gaze sweeping like a radar. It stopped on Alex. He didn't look away in time. The first few takes were uneventful. The lead actor delivered his lines like a soap opera vet. Selena matched him with clinical precision. Polished. Empty. They tried again. The same. Then, on the 4th take, she went off script. Instead of brushing past the bar and joining her co-star at the corner table, she veered. Right toward Alex. The crew hesitated, unsure if this was rehearsal or rebellion. Selena sat on the stool beside him. Close. Her perfume was subtle. Jasmine, maybe. Her eyes met his, like they'd met before. Rough night? She asked, soft enough that only the mic could catch it. Alex blinked, startled. He glanced off camera. No signal. He made a decision. Guess that makes 2 of us, he murmured. She tilted her head, curious. What's your excuse? Bad script, he said, and only later would he realize how bold that was. She laughed. Not an actress laugh. A real one. Quick. Genuine. Touché. She glanced at his fake drink. You know that's apple juice, right? He smirked. Ruining my immersion. They sat like that, suspended, while the cameras captured something no one had planned. Something human. Something that didn't feel rehearsed. Cut, the director finally said, voice uncertain. Selena stood, gave Alex the briefest nod, and returned to her mark without fanfare. No one explained. No one asked questions. The production moved on like it hadn't just cracked open. 2 weeks passed. Then the internet exploded. A leaked clip, just under a minute, surfaced online. That scene. The accidental moment between the nobody at the bar and the queen of the screen. It wasn't even in the trailer, but fans found it. And loved it. The chemistry is insane. Who's the guy? This needs to be a whole movie. Theories flooded in. Was it a hidden subplot? A test run for a spin-off? Or, most popular, was it real? Alex was named Mystery Bar Guy by BuzzFeed. A slow zoom on his confused but soulful face became a meme. Some said he was a rising indie star. Others claimed he was Selena's secret boyfriend. Fan edits paired them to love songs. Hashtags trended. Alex, meanwhile, was still sharing a studio apartment with Marcus, a stunt double, and eating cereal for dinner. He watched the fame unfold from a cracked phone screen, unsure whether to be excited or terrified. His inbox flooded with interview requests, half of which called him Alan or Evan. No one got his name right, but the attention was real. So was the opportunity. Then came the call. From the studio. They wanted to see him. He arrived wearing his best shirt, which wasn't saying much, and was ushered into a modern conference room with floor-to-ceiling glass. Inside sat two producers, a woman from PR, and, at the head of the table, Selena. She looked different in daylight. Less regal. More real. She smiled as he entered, and it wasn't the red carpet smile. It was something warmer. "Alex," she said. "Glad you came." He nodded. Still not sure why. The PR woman spoke briskly. "That scene, your scene, is everywhere. We want to ride the wave." "Ride it how?" "A short-term arrangement," she said. "Public appearances, hand-holding, a carefully curated illusion of romance. For the cameras." Alex stared. "You want me to pretend to date her?" The woman smiled like it was the simplest thing in the world. "The public already believes it. All we're doing is giving them what they want." Selena's voice was calm. "Only if you're comfortable." He looked at her. Really looked. And saw someone tired. Maybe even lonely. Not the icon. Just the woman beneath. And something inside him shifted. "I'll think about it," he said. Her smile was faint. Almost hopeful. "I hoped you might." Alex stared at the ceiling that night, unable to sleep. The fan in his apartment clicked with every rotation, a faint metallic tap that grew louder the longer he listened. His roommate, Marcus, snored softly from the other side of the room. Alex's mind replayed Selena's voice on a loop. "Only if you're comfortable." It wasn't a demand. It wasn't even a request. It was an invitation. One he didn't know how to answer. By morning, the offer still sat in his inbox, neatly formatted and disturbingly detailed. A 6-week publicity arrangement, appearances, coordinated posts, exclusive interviews. He would be flown to events, dressed by stylists, posed with her on red carpets, a professional romance. He stared at the dollar figure at the bottom. It was more than he'd made in the last 2 years combined. He tapped reply. "I'm in." The machine roared to life. Within 24 hours, he had a publicist, a stylist, a schedule. His Instagram follower count tripled before he even posted a new picture. His name was added to entertainment blogs, mostly in parentheses next to hers. Still, it was there. Someone designed a fan page for them within hours. A stranger wrote fan fiction about how they met. Alex didn't know whether to laugh or hide. The first event was a charity gala at the Orpheum Theater downtown. Alex wore a tailored black suit, his first real one. He felt like a kid in costume, like someone would notice the tag still hidden inside. The car sent for him had a driver who knew his name and offered sparkling water. Selena was already inside when he arrived. She looked radiant. Gold silk, soft curls, a smile that belonged on every magazine cover. But when she turned to him backstage, away from the flashing bulbs, her voice was low, almost shy. "Nervous?" she asked. He nodded. "Is it that obvious?" "A little," she admitted. "Just breathe. And hold my hand when we step out." "Easy." He did. And suddenly, the flashes didn't feel so blinding. They walked the carpet like professionals. Selena answered questions with effortless charm, and Alex learned to smile at just the right moments. Laugh softly when she teased him. Gaze at her like she was his whole world. It was scripted, but also not. Something in her touch felt real, grounded. When the press asked how they met, she smiled and said, "It all started with a drink." It was perfect. It was rehearsed. It was everywhere the next day. That night, headlines exploded. Selena's mystery man revealed. Hollywood's hottest new couple? The bar scene wasn't acting after all, the PR team celebrated. Alex just stared at his phone, wondering how much of his life now belonged to the cameras. He opened Instagram and saw a dozen versions of himself looking at her. In some, it almost looked like love. Their next outing was a dinner at a private rooftop venue. No press. Just a few industry insiders and organic photo leaks. The kind of night designed to build mystique. They sat beneath a canopy of string lights, a quiet table in the corner, as the city glittered around them. Selena swirled a glass of wine between her fingers, watching the traffic far below. "You're handling this well," she said. Alex shrugged. "It's just another kind of role, right?" She looked at him. Really looked. "Is that how you see it?" He hesitated. "Shouldn't I?" She didn't answer, just offered a small smile. "You're better at this than you think." They were photographed laughing together, leaving in the same car, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. None of it was real, except it felt like it. He went home with her perfume still clinging to his sleeves. The third week brought a whirlwind of talk shows, morning segments, nighttime panels. Alex sat beside her on couches, repeating the same story about how they met on set, and felt an instant connection. The script was tight, the rhythm rehearsed. But in the quiet moments backstage, away from the lights, their conversations strayed from bullet points. She told him about growing up in a small town with one movie theater. How her mom used to drive her an hour every weekend to acting classes. How, even now, success didn't quiet the fear of being forgotten. He told her about his dad, who once played King Lear in a community theater, and never let go of the dream. About the night he left home with $200 and a beat-up backpack, believing LA would open its arms. She listened. Really listened. And sometimes, she laughed at things he hadn't meant to be funny. He started looking forward to seeing her, even when no cameras were around. One night, after a shoot wrapped early, she invited him to her place. Not for publicity. No staff. No photos. Just the two of them. Her house was sleek, but warm. Soft lighting. Books stacked on every surface. A record player spinning Miles Davis in the background. She poured them both wine and kicked off her heels, curling her legs beneath her on the couch like they'd done this 100 times. "You ever think about quitting?" she asked. He blinked. "Acting?" She nodded. "All of it." He considered. "Every week." "You?" "Every day," she whispered. Silence stretched. Not awkward. Just present. She looked at him, her face unreadable. "You're the first person in a long time who talks to me like I'm not a brand." He didn't know what to say to that. So he said the truth. "I don't know how to talk to brands." She laughed. It wasn't glamorous. It was real. They sat there until midnight, the city quiet beyond the glass, the weight of performance slipping from both their shoulders. When he stood to leave, she didn't ask him to stay. She just watched him at the door and said, "Good night, Alex," like it meant more than it sounded. As he stepped outside, the night air was sharp against his skin, but his chest felt warm. He paused on the sidewalk, glancing back at the soft glow from her living room. For the first time since this all began, he didn't feel like a guest in someone else's story. Back home, he didn't sleep. He lay awake replaying the night. Not the smiles or rehearsed lines, but the silences. The ease between them when no one was watching. When it was just her and him and the jazz humming low. No filters. No edits. In the morning, his phone buzzed nonstop. Paparazzi shots from across the street. Someone had caught him leaving her house, alone, at 1 a.m. The headlines wrote themselves. Overnight romance? Selena's new flame spotted after intimate night in. He stared at the images, his back turned, her light in the background, and wondered how something so private could already belong to the world. The PR team sent suggested captions. Had the most amazing night. Still smiling. Alex couldn't bring himself to post it. He drafted a reply anyway. Some things feel more real when they stay off camera. But he didn't post that either. Instead, he closed the app, turned off the screen, and sat in silence. Something was changing. In the story. In her. In him. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But when it happened, he knew it wouldn't be acting. They called it the miracle scene in interviews now. A moment of cinematic magic. Directors used it as an example of organic chemistry. Fans reenacted it on TikTok. Some claimed they cried watching it. Others said they watched it 20 times in a row. But no one ever knew it hadn't been planned. Alex and Selena became the internet's favorite couple. Not just actors, symbols of something sweet and pure in a business built on illusion. The studio leaned in. The gossip sites leaned harder. Every look they shared was turned into a meme. Every glance, a headline. And every silence, a mystery waiting to be decoded. But the more perfect their public image became, the messier things felt underneath. It started small. An awkward moment at a photo shoot. The stylist handed Alex a shirt that fit too tightly across the shoulders. Selena joked, "It'll keep him humble." The whole room laughed. Except Alex. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That night, he stayed late in her dressing room while she reviewed edits for her next film. He sat on the floor beside her couch, sipping flat soda and watching her work. She barely looked up. "Do you ever feel like we're living in someone else's dream?" he asked quietly. She paused. "What do you mean?" "This. All of this. The cameras. The clothes. The posts. It's not us." Selena looked at him for a long moment. "Then who is it?" He didn't know how to answer. The next morning, paparazzi photos surfaced of them in that dressing room. Taken through a tinted window, zoomed in, and grainy. In the shot, her head is tilted toward him, and his hand rests near hers on the floor. The caption read, "Candid intimacy. Are they real after all?" It went viral. The machine was feeding itself now. They kept playing the part. A weekend in Malibu, leaked through a curated Instagram story. A joint interview where they smiled and finished each other's sentences. The press couldn't get enough. But behind the scenes, Alex started to see the cracks. Selena grew quieter around him. Not cold, just distracted. Like she was calculating something in her head that never made it into words. When they weren't being watched, she seemed distant. One night after an awards ceremony, they ducked out early. Her hand gripped his tightly as they left through the back exit, dodging cameras. Once inside the black car, silence fell. He turned to her, about to say something, anything. But she was already staring out the window, lost in thought. He hated himself for wondering if she was acting. Later that week, he got a call from a director he admired. They wanted to meet. A real audition. A lead role. Not background, not boyfriend, not a prop in someone else's narrative. Selena encouraged him to go. "You'd be amazing," she said with a smile. But her voice held a strange weight. "Will it be weird?" he asked. "What? If we stop being whatever this is?" She didn't answer right away. Then softly, "Would it matter?" That question haunted him. The audition went well. He read with clarity and heart. He left the room with his chest buzzing. For the first time in months, he felt like himself. Not a storyline. Not a mystery. Just Alex, an actor, chasing something honest. When he told Selena how it went, she hugged him. But she didn't look happy. The next day, PR emailed them a new schedule. A press tour. 5 cities in 2 weeks. More photos, more smiles, more pretending. Alex stared at the itinerary and felt something twist inside him. He canceled a dinner. Then he canceled another. And one morning, he turned off his phone entirely. For 24 hours, he disappeared. No texts, no calls, no posts. He walked through Venice Beach, anonymous again. He bought a hot dog from a street vendor, sat on the sand, and watched the waves crash in silence. He didn't miss the cameras. He missed her. The real her. But he didn't even know if she was still in there, beneath the gloss and glow. That night, he found himself outside her house, unannounced. Her lights were on. He hesitated before knocking, but before he could raise his hand, the door opened. She stood there, barefoot, in a sweatshirt, hair pulled back. No makeup. Just her. "You okay?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. "I needed to see you." She stepped aside to let him in. They didn't talk at first. He sat on her couch, the same place they shared that quiet night weeks ago. The jazz wasn't playing this time. Just silence. Finally, he asked, "Is this still a game to you?" She looked down. "It was never a game." "Then why do I feel like I'm losing?" Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Do what?" "Be myself. Be real. I've been pretending so long I forgot where the script ends." Alex reached for her hand. "Then let's stop pretending." She shook her head slowly. "We can't. Not yet. Not with everything riding on it." And just like that, the space between them filled with unspoken weight. He left before sunrise. The headlines spun a new story the next day. Alex Carter steps out solo, trouble in paradise. He didn't read the rest, but the fans did. And soon, they started asking questions the studio couldn't spin away. The studio doubled down. The moment rumors of a rift began to circulate, they flooded social media with new clips, romantic edits, scheduled appearances. PR emails turned into pressure. Alex was asked to correct the narrative, to show up smiling, to prove everything was fine. But everything wasn't fine. Selena had gone quiet. They still appeared together, at premieres, on panels, in curated moments captured perfectly for the internet. But behind closed doors, something had shifted. She spoke less, laughed less, avoided eye contact in small ways that only someone truly watching would notice. Alex noticed, and it gnawed at him. They were at a hotel in Chicago when it all came to a head. Another press stop. Another interview. Another night in separate rooms, pretending to be in love. He stood outside her door for 10 minutes before finally knocking. She opened it in silence. For a while, neither spoke. Then Alex stepped inside, leaving the door open behind him. "I can't keep doing this," he said. Her eyes didn't flicker. "I know. I mean it," he continued. "I'm losing who I am. I don't know what's real anymore. What's us and what's them." Still, she didn't move. "You think I do?" He stared at her, searching her expression for a sign. "Anything. I think you're better at pretending than I am." At that, she let out a sound. A broken laugh, or maybe a breath, caught between pain and anger. "I'm not pretending," she whispered. Silence filled the room. Alex stepped closer. "What?" "I'm not pretending," she repeated, louder now. "I never was. Not with you." His heart thudded. "But the cameras—" "Forget the cameras," she said, voice trembling. "Forget the red carpets and the contracts and the fake timelines. When I was with you, in here." She placed a hand over her chest. It was real. Alex couldn't speak. His throat tightened. "Then, why did you shut down?" he finally asked. "Why pull away?" "Because I'm terrified," she said. "Because I've lived my whole life with people loving the idea of me. Not me. The version they see on screens or in magazines. And then, you looked at me like I was human. And I didn't know what to do with that." He stepped forward, inches from her now. "You could have just told me." She shook her head. "I didn't think you'd stay." Alex exhaled, his voice soft. "I would have." Something inside her cracked. Tears welled up, and this time, she didn't hide them. "I'm sorry," she said. He wrapped his arms around her gently, and for the first time, they didn't have to pose. They just stood there, together. No lights, no script, no watchers. Just the sound of two people finally telling the truth. They spent the rest of the night talking, really talking, about their childhoods, their fears, the cost of fame, the loneliness beneath all the sparkle. When morning light spilled through the windows, it felt like something had shifted. Quietly. Permanently. But outside, the world was still watching, and the world had questions. Photos from the tour were dissected. Tabloids speculated on every gesture. When Alex skipped a scheduled interview in LA the following week, rumors exploded. Selena's PR team scrambled. Statements were drafted, tweets scheduled. But nothing landed right. The illusion had cracked, and the fans noticed. A trending hashtag emerged. Let them be real. It wasn't anger. It was support. People wanted authenticity, and that terrified the studio, because authenticity couldn't be controlled. A meeting was called. Executives, agents, PR, all in one room, talking about controlling the message and protecting the brand. Selena sat at the end of the long table, silent. Alex was there too, arms crossed. "We need to get ahead of this," one executive said. A heartfelt post, something raw but approved, maybe a short video, you two holding hands, just enough to soften the blow. Selena looked up. "We're not lying anymore." The room went still. The head of PR cleared her throat. "It's not lying. It's guiding perception. It's manipulation," Alex said. A murmur rippled. "We can spin anything," someone else added. "This is Hollywood." "No," Selena said firmly. "It's not anymore." She stood. Alex followed. They walked out hand in hand. That night, they sat in her kitchen, phones off, wine open, the world blissfully distant. "I want to tell the truth," she said. "Then let's do it." The next day, she posted. No stylists, no filter. Just her, in a simple t-shirt, speaking straight to the camera. "We were cast in a fake love story. But somewhere along the way, it became real. And real things deserve to breathe without being packaged." Alex sat beside her, silent but steady. The video went viral. Not in a flashy, PR-engineered way. It moved people. Fans flooded the comments with love, not outrage. And then something unexpected happened. Studios called, not with brand deals, but with scripts. Real scripts. Authentic, quiet stories. Films that asked for honesty, not perfection. For the first time, they weren't a couple being consumed by attention. They were two people choosing each other, publicly, painfully, and freely. And the world, surprisingly, let them. The script arrived on a Monday. It was thick, bound in matte black, no title on the cover. Just their names. Selena Riley, Alex Carter, inside. An original screenplay, 2 leads, a love story. But not one full of fairy tales. It was raw, messy, true, written for them. The director was independent but respected. She'd watched their interviews, their confessions, their silence. She told them she didn't want them to act. She wanted them to be. Alex read it in one sitting. Selena cried halfway through. They agreed to do it. Not for the press. Not for the comeback. For each other. Filming began in winter. A quiet set in upstate New York. Snow fell in slow sheets outside the windows. The story followed 2 people, strangers, who collide in a moment of grief and spend 7 days walking through each other's lives. There were no grand declarations, just touches, looks, breaths shared in silence. In one scene, Selena's character breaks down on a kitchen floor. There was no script for her tears. She sobbed in Alex's arms, and when the director yelled, "Cut!" no one moved. Because no one wanted to break what was real. Crew members cried behind the camera. Not because it was beautiful, because it was honest. They wrapped in 32 days. No scandals, no leaks. Just work. Real work. They returned home changed. Quieter. Closer. They still fought sometimes. She hated that he left socks on the floor. He hated that she forgot to rest when she got obsessed with edits. But they always returned to center. To the version of themselves that started it all. The day the trailer dropped, the internet held its breath. It was nothing like their viral moment years ago. It wasn't polished. It was a slow burn of stolen glances, half smiles, a kiss by a frozen lake. The voiceover was a single line. I didn't know I was lost until you saw me. Millions watched it in hours. Not because it promised spectacle, but because it promised something rare. Something still alive. On premiere night, they walked the carpet hand in hand. No contracts. No instructions. Just them. The crowd didn't scream. They applauded. Like witnessing something sacred. Inside the theater, as the final scene faded to black, there was no music. Just quiet. Then a voice. A single clap. Then hundreds. Standing ovation. Later, in the lobby, someone asked them, was it all based on real life? Selena smiled. Parts of it. Alex added, the important parts. The film won awards. But more than that, it stayed. People whispered about it in cafes. Teachers showed clips in writing classes. Couples watched it on rainy Sundays. Not because it was perfect, because it was possible. Years passed, not in dramatic leaps, but in little moments. Alex kept acting. Selena started directing. They moved into a smaller house. Wood floors, creaky stairs, a fireplace that smoked in winter. They planted herbs, burned dinners, argued about where the couch should go. They were not a headline. They were a life. They took turns waking first. He made coffee. She opened curtains. Sometimes they didn't speak until noon, not because they were distant, but because silence had become comfortable. One day, they drove for hours with no destination. Winding roads, golden light, a lake they didn't know existed. They sat on the hood of the car, feet dangling, sharing a sandwich. This, she said, feels like everything I wanted. He looked at her. Even before you met me? She nodded. Especially then. One summer, they took a break from everything. No phones, no emails, just paperbacks and sunburns. They laughed more that week than they had in a year. They talked about marriage once. Not rings or dresses, but what it meant. Do you want it? She asked. I already have it, he said. She kissed him like that was enough. They visited her hometown in the fall. She took him to the theater where she first performed at 15. It was dusty, small. She ran her fingers along the backs of chairs like she was greeting old friends. Alex watched her like it was the first time all over again. Back in LA, they wrote something together. A short film. Nothing big. Just a story about two strangers sharing a bench on a rainy day. It didn't go viral. It wasn't meant to. But it was theirs. One weekend, they invited friends over. Old and new. Some from sets, others from real life. There was no plan. Just music, food, mismatched chairs on the patio. At one point, someone pulled out a guitar. Selena sang, softly, like no one was listening. Alex watched her from across the yard. Years ago, he wouldn't have believed this was where he'd end up. Not famous, not adored, just happy. Later that night, after everyone left, she found him standing barefoot in the kitchen, drinking orange juice straight from the bottle. Do you ever miss it? She asked. The spotlight? She nodded. He thought about it, then smiled. Only when you're not in the room. She laughed and kissed him. They turned off the lights, locked the doors, climbed into bed. Outside, the night stretched quiet and full. Inside, they wrote nothing down, recorded nothing, posted nothing. But it was their favorite scene of all. The following spring, A journalist asked them. During a small festival panel, what would you say your story is about? The one you lived, not the one on screen. Alex glanced at Selena, then back at the moderator. It's about two people learning that love doesn't need to be loud, he said. It just needs to be real. Selena nodded. And choosing each other. Even on quiet days. Especially then. Later that night, they sat on their porch under a navy sky, a blanket draped across their laps, stars peeking through the clouds. Alex pointed up. See that one? She squinted. The big one? He nodded. No one ever notices the one next to it. She looked again. It's smaller. Yeah. But still there. Still shining. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Like us. They didn't need grand finales. They had this. A home. A rhythm. A shared breath. And somewhere in a drawer inside, their first script sat. Creased. Worn. Annotated. Not because they were clinging to the past, but because they'd built something from it. Together.